You're Not American, the side of undocumented immigrants and immigration that you don't see. My name is Marissa Mayo, and I will be doing my speech based off of the article My Life as an Undocumented Immigrant by Jose Antonio Vargas. The link is here in the video, as well as I will put it down below in the description box. You're more than welcome to click it so that you can read the article. The article is written by Jose Antonio Vargas, who is an immigrant from the Philippines. He came over when he was younger, and the article just details his entire life as an undocumented illegal immigrant. It goes from the time he gets on a plane to the time that he comes over to the United States. It also documents him going through school and having to learn the language, learn the culture, struggled to get a license and to get funding and aid for college and things of that nature. He basically shows what it is to be an undocumented immigrant and the struggles and strife and also successes that can accompany it. Um, Mr. Vargas does say that there are 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States. Many among them are children. They come over to the United States for a better life. That's why Mr. Vargas was sent over to the United States, and they usually come over to live with relatives that are naturalized. Children that come over to the United States have a difficult time integrating into new societies and the new culture. Language is a very hard, very huge hurdle that they have to overcome, especially just the proper language and learning slang. Mr. Vargas states that he had some issues learning the slang in America, but learning the actual language was very interesting to him, and he ended up falling in love with the language and falling in love with being an American or being in America. He did have some trials as far as his immigration documents went. A lot of his documentation, which goes with a lot of undocumented immigrants, a lot of the documentation is illegal. It's forged. They have multiple social security numbers, invalid social security numbers, which is a hindrance, especially trying to get a license, especially without a birth certificate, and trying to apply for funding for college. You need a proper social security number, a birth certificate, and everything to go ahead and do your FAFSA. So that was a very difficult thing for him, and I know that's a difficult thing for a lot of other undocumented immigrants. Most immigrants, especially the young or those that grew up in America, they feel the need to try and prove how American they are by completely adopting culture and erasing who they were in the past, which means no family pictures, no pictures from where they grew up, trying to make sure that they had the English language down perfect and they don't speak their native tongue, or they remove their accents completely and fully, and they basically erase who they were in favor to be more American so that it's less likely for them to be discovered. Mr. Vargas said that he had some difficulties maintaining the secret that he is an illegal immigrant, and that took a toll on his interpersonal and work relationships. He found it very hard to trust people. He had very few friends. His work relationships were small and few in between, and it just was difficult for him. And any friends that he did have, he had to make sure he asserted who he was and never had them question anything about him. So that was very difficult for him, and that's very difficult for other immigrants as well. He lived in fear of being discovered all the time. He would forego opportunities at school for debates on immigration, and he would forego opportunities within his journalistic career that had anything to do with immigration or immigration laws. Anything, he would steer clear of it for fear that he would have too much emotion or too much opinion and would be discovered. And that's what a lot of undocumented immigrants face, and they face deportation and jail time if they are discovered. So it's like a horrible quality of life to have to live in fear constantly. I believe Vargas' purpose was to not only tell his story of illegal immigration, but to also inform the general public that it is difficult to be undocumented. And there are different struggles and things that you have to go through in order, if you're undocumented, in order to actually live in American society and be able to pass as an American. And I feel like he did a very, very good job at informing you of those things and informing you of the life that you may have to live or the things that you may have to forego and the fears that you're going to have on yourself as an illegal immigrant. Similarities and differences between he and I. Obviously, I am not a undocumented immigrant. I am an American citizen, but my father was undocumented at one point in time, and it was very difficult for him, especially having children here and wanting to stay here. He had to do a lot of the things that Mr. Vargas had to do, as far as covering up his identity, trying to erase his accent, erase his culture, erase the fact that he was Hispanic, because a lot of people have bad connotations in their head of what a Hispanic immigrant is, and so he went through a lot of the same things. So I feel that same similarity between Mr. Vargas and I understand where he's coming from in his view of what the world is. Which brings me to worldview. I completely agree with his worldview. He's very open-minded, but um, he also knows his place in the world. And I feel the same way. I'm very open-minded, and I accept people for who they are and what they are. But you also still have to know your place in the world. So I completely agree with him on that. I brought this picture up to show a piece of figurative language, which was my favorite thing that he put into the article, was when he was steering clear of immigration topics at work. He felt that if he did try to jump into that, it would just tattoo illegal immigrant all over his forehead. And I feel like that was a great way for him to convey the shame or the feeling of being judged based on your identity. So I feel like that was a great way for him to convey a point across. And I feel like Mr. Vargas completely did a great job with the article. The only thing I would change, though, I would add more data, especially based off of immigration. I would add more of that into the article, and I would delve into, even more. I would just explain even more, like different difficult things and pieces that he had to go through in his life, and whether he did eventually obtain U.S. citizenship. Um, so I feel like Mr. Vargas completely got his point across. I feel like he has a very well written article, and he did a great job with his organization and everything. I think it was educational, interesting, and it gives you a different point of view on life, and on being American and a citizen and things of that nature. So it was a great article to read, and it was great for me to share. Um, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to leave them below in the comments section, and I will be sure to get back to you. And I really want to thank you all for watching my speech and interacting with me in the comments if you do. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you other speeches. Thank you.